I think that we probably should go ahead and get started if that's all right with everybody. We have a
participants, so that's where you are.
We have a pretty informal format to all of this. And so let's get started. I just want to welcome all of you to the first meeting of the Innovation World Alliance. We're very proud that you are here with us today. Feel good about it and hope you do too, and can't wait to share a little bit about our programs and learn a little bit more about your programs at the same time. I think what we'll do is we'll do introductions. I'll start, and then the rest of the team that I'm used to working with can introduce themselves, and then allow everybody on the call just a couple seconds to introduce themselves as well, so we know what kind of expertise is sitting here today, which is pretty vast as I can see it. So my name is Julie Shively. I am the founder of Innovation World, the organizer of the Global Innovation Field Trip, and a very proud member of the Invent Future Global program, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. I have spent almost 20 years now in the student innovation space, the majority of that time with the Ohio Invention Convention program, and then the last couple years kind of on loan to the STEMI Coalition, who created the first National Invention Convention, which I think is now known as Invention Convention Worldwide, and it's run out of the Henry Ford. With that, I'll pass it over to my colleague, Jake Mendelson.
Hello, my name is Jake Mendelson. I was originally an engineer, and then I got involved in the Connecticut Invention Convention 30-some years ago. And because of that, I realized how much I really enjoyed teaching and working with students. And I've been doing that ever since. I'm an actual real certified teacher now, but still involved in entrepreneurship and invention and working with kids, because frankly, I am old and I am the past and the kids are the future, and that's what makes it very exciting for me. So that's me. Charlene?
Carolyn Rustin Bullock. I beg to differ. We are classics. We are not old, but that's okay. Everything old is new again. I was trained in psychology of the exceptional child and youth in college, and that means on the high side, gifted, talented, and on the other side, Asperger's, autistic, etc. I had a great interest in why kids think the way they do, literally in their brain, because they're all different. They all have potential. As you all know, you're all on this call because you work with children, and they're all different and have wonderful gifts, but we've seemed to have put them all in a box. So Invention was supposed to be a 6-month gig back in 1987, and I've worked in youth invention for 30 years. So I fell in love with the potential of invention and its ability to unlock the potential in children. And that's where I met Miss Shively, the lovely and talented. When I was running the Ohio Invention Convention, she helped me get through the caring of my parents by helping with that program. I stepped away for 10 years, and I'm very happy in the last maybe 3 months, I'd say, to be invited back by Julie and meet Jake again, to be in the space that I loved for 30 years. So there you go.
And we're very happy that you have blessed us with your wealth of knowledge.
Boldness, your check is in the mail.
All right, Sherilyn, you get to call on whoever is next.
I call on Jill.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for that, Sherilyn, throwing me in the first end. I'm Joe from South Africa, and I am on the executive committee for the Institute of Inventors and Innovators, South Africa's non-profit for inventors. And also am the host of a meetup group here on Zoom. We have our own Zoom for kids and adults, but I have a passion for kids because I would constantly go to my mom, hey mom, I got a new idea for an invention. And she'd always say, sorry boy, the Americans already did that. So I had to learn very late in my life that I could still invent. So I'm also an inventor, and I want to create a place for kids where they can take their ideas and do something with it. And I love the licensing model because, you know, you don't have to start a business if you have an idea, and kids they're right on the money. Think about that. Kids have ideas, and if you can license the idea to a big company, guess what? You can pay for dad's new car. So that's why I'm here, to find out how I can be a better host to help kids because I've just started. Thanks.
Welcome, Joe. You get to call on someone else, Joe.
I'll go down here. Kristen Lehman.
Hey everyone. I got to know Julie and Jake a little bit through the STEMI Coalition. I was a part of Invent Washington, the Invent Washington team, and a couple of years ago. And you know how funding comes and goes in these things. I ended up going back to teaching math for a while, and just in the last year have started working with a different nonprofit, the Hewitt Foundation, Hewitt Learning, it's designed for homeschoolers. And so working with K-12 homeschoolers, getting them resources, access to curriculum, testing, all sorts of things. But my background, Sherilyn, I'm kind of like you. I have a background in gifted ed as well. And as a certified SANE parent teacher, I'm very eclectic. And so I kind of go a little bit of everywhere. And my passion is kids who are outside the box and getting them access to resources that they can have. So yeah, I'm here similar to see how we can fit in and how I can get kids access to more resources, whatever they need.
Great. Kristen, is your organization work with primarily homeschool kids in Washington or all over the place?
All over the world, actually.
Okay.
It's primarily the US, but we do, because of shipping costs and that sort of stuff, we've got curriculum that we publish. We've got an award-winning language arts curriculum. Yeah, it's primarily the US, but we do work with kids all over the world.
Well, I'm really interested in a follow-up conversation about this because that is such a fragmented group across the US and across the world, and even locally. I mean, there's so many little pockets, so it'll be nice to learn from you as well. Thank you. You get to pick someone to go next.
Let's do Beth.
Well, good morning. This is an exciting opportunity, and I'm pleased to see so many faces that I already know. I too have a background, Kristen, Sherilyn, in gifted and talented education. My master's degree is from the University of Connecticut in gifted and talented. And Kristen, we're gonna have to connect again since we're next door neighbors, at least next door states. My name is Beth Brubaker, and I am the co-founder and state director of Invent Idaho. It's a state invention competition, and we have been in existence. I like Sherilyn's word classic. I'm not old, I'm classic. For over 30 years, since 1989, and we've been serving and inspiring young inventors through Invent Idaho. Well, since 1989, thousands of kiddos in grades 1 through 12. I'm also currently teaching at the North Idaho STEM Charter Academy, and so we're doing Invent Idaho and robotics and all kinds of fun hands-on projects.
Get to pick.
And I will call on Miriam, please.
Yeah, pick somebody.
Thank you, Beth. A couple of familiar faces here. I am Miriam Kelly, and I'm Education and Outreach for Western New York Invention Convention. That, generally speaking, covers Erie and Niagara counties. And we have a regional competition. I don't think New York actually has a state competition, and we're not aware of too many other regional competitions in New York at this time. We've been around a pretty long time. It started out also over 30 years ago, but it was Buffalo Invention Convention when it first started out, and then became Western New York Invention Convention about maybe, I don't know, 17 or 18 years ago. My background is, I was a toy designer and a toy executive for close to 30 years. Now I teach kids K through 5 engineering. I write curriculum and teach, et cetera, et cetera. Our we're just busy right now working on educational programs and getting our regional event going virtually, as most people are. And let's see, I can't see everybody on the list. I only see 5 people. Erin, did you talk yet?
I have not spoken yet. Thanks,
Okay, there you go.
Mary. Perfect. Good morning. I'm Erin Tershin. I work on an initiative called Invent Ed, which was started and is supported by the Lemelson Foundation, which is a foundation that supports invention entrepreneurship globally, nationally and globally. The focus of Invent Ed is on K-12 invention education. And this is work that they've been doing for about 20 years now, but has really ramped up in the last several years to become a movement in which we are focused on building a broad network of organizations and educators who are doing invention education across many different contexts. And so the focus of my work is really building that community, supporting that community, and helping to grow that network of invention educators. My background, I worked at the Lemelson Foundation as a program officer for over a decade in invention education across several of their portfolios, and then went on to spend some time in international development, and then most recently worked in higher education, building innovation programs. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I was working at a university here. And now I've come back full circle to work with Lemelson again. So so thrilled to be connecting back into this network and learning from all of you. So happy to be here this morning. And let's see, let me look at that. Now I can see everybody. Let me see who hasn't. Jasmine, have you spoken yet?
I have not. So I'm Jazz. I'm the new director of the Young Inventor Challenge with People of Play, which was formerly ShyTag, the Chicago Toy and Game Fair. I was fortunate to go to the fair last year, and I volunteered and helped out with the Young Inventor Challenge because I love working with kids. And then when it came to be this time, just a few weeks ago, I reached out to them again, asking if they needed help. And they said they were kind of passively looking for a new director, so I stepped in on that role. So I'm grateful to be a part of the Young Inventor Challenge. I teach 3D printing at a technical college in Minneapolis. I'm currently teaching remotely, so I'm living in Denver right now because why not be in the mountains while I'm able to. Let's see, I'm really enthusiastic about 3D printing, so I do a lot of youth outreach around that, going into schools, and my passion is working with inner city schools and inner city kids that usually don't have the opportunity to work with some of the technology that I may have or some of the other schools have. So I have 17 of my own 3D printers, and I'll bring them into schools in these large bins and work on 3D printing projects. Obviously right now being remote, I'm not able to do that, but still finding ways to work with kids, and I'm excited to be with the Young Inventor Challenge this year and for years going forward. So kind of, it's based out of Chicago, and we're working on making it more of an international challenge and opening it up to kids from around the world to submit their toys and games and to be seen by these industry professionals. So excited to be here. Thank you, Julie, for the invite, and excited to meet all of you.
Hey, before you select somebody to go next, I just want to say that Jazz was on our Innovation World podcast on Wednesday, which you can see on the Facebook channel. Our Facebook handle, I guess, is letter U, numeral 2, can innovate. So you too can innovate, or you can find it under Innovation World if you do a search. And you can learn a lot more about the Young Inventors Challenge by listening to that podcast and some of her 3D work, because we started talking about, but clearly we need a whole nother podcast on 3D. So
yeah, so you don't want to open that door. I could talk about 3D printing all day. So
and I think being part of something like this is a perfect way to help expand your base of kids, because all of these people here are working with kids. So
awesome.
Good place to
thank
be.
you again, and excited to be here and meet everyone. Oh, pick someone next. Who hasn't gone yet? Jill, have you gone?
Sorry, I'm muted because of the dog. So no, hi everybody. I'm Jill Hansen. I am the new science instructional specialist for Bay District Schools in Bay County, Florida. I'm originally, biology, bioeducation, and kind of backed into teaching. And I did that for 21 years. And this is the first year out of the classroom. So I still have all my teacher instincts. But I'm trying to, just last year was our first year working with Julie in the invention convention process. We've mostly just done science fair for decades. And so this is really new to us and we're figuring things out. And I have a lot to learn from all of y'all.
You have a lot of great mentors on this phone call, Jill.
Sorry, I forgot I got to pick somebody. And
While you're picking, this is Jagger, the next presenter.
well, Zoe is behind me causing an absolute.
Zoe, that's why I went, oh, wow.
There we go. Now I can see everybody. Pratik, I don't know if I said your name right. Have you gone yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Okay, so hey, so this is Pratik. I'm from India, and maybe it's good morning or good afternoon for you. So it's completely night over here. So I'm an electronic engineer and I'm a STEM edutech teacher, and I am the founder of Makers Dunia. So Makers is a community which you all are aware about since you are from the same background. And Dunya is a Hindi word which means world. So I have been trying to introduce STEM education in India, and we are focusing more on entrepreneurship and innovations, and we are trying to collaborate STEM education with the ongoing Indian curriculum. So we have been educating students in the field of robotics, 3D printing, machine tools, coding like Python, website designing and all. And we are also focusing on app development. And I have been also working with some underprivileged students who are from rural areas. And we are trying to educate them also in the field of STEM education so that they can start developing their surroundings and their village, and they could work for the welfare of the nation. So I would love to connect with you all, and I would love to participate in your competitions, and I have a good community of students connected with me who are eager to showcase their their innovations to the entire world. So maybe from India this time we would also love to compete in your ongoing events if they are for the entire world.
So if you haven't written down Pratik's name yet, do so if you're a LinkedIn member, and friend him or connect with him on LinkedIn. He is constantly putting his kids up on LinkedIn. He probably posts 4 or 5 times a day, and they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, you just have to really look at the posts he does to really appreciate them. But they are brilliant. They came, many of them came to our Global Innovation Field Trip that was on October 10th and 11th to show off the apps they've created, and it's just amazing. So connect with him if you are a LinkedIn user. Oh, thanks, Pratik.
Thank you. So if I have to pick another one, maybe Christine, have you spoken? Okay, I think
I did. Leslie hasn't.
Okay.
Leslie and Sheldon.
I'm not able to pronounce your name. It's Ashley, if I'm not wrong. Someone from University of Louisville. I'm not able to pronounce your name. I'm sorry for that.
I could go. My name's Leslie.
Okay, that's great.
I'll go next.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Leslie Flynn. I'm a professor of STEM innovation and entrepreneurship at the University of Iowa, formerly JAS, University of Minnesota. So I do a lot of work there, especially in culturally relevant curriculum and that sort of stuff. What I do is I was brought back to Iowa, which is my home state, to create an institute for youth innovation and entrepreneurship around STEM. It's a major initiative of the state of Iowa and my university. As part of that work, we created a program called STEM Innovator, and STEM Innovator provides both curriculum, professional development, research, and assessment tools. as part of our research, I do partner with the Lemelson Foundation and NSF. And what we do is we have created a portfolio tool that captures students' competencies over years as they engage in the invention process. So the portfolio tool is something that in the United States, at least, is something that is now starting to be able to be accepted for college admissions or scholarships, as opposed to just an ACT or SAT score. So what happens is our students collect their portfolio, and for example, they would put in their prototype 3D designs in there. They go through a whole entrepreneurship cycle. So from idea generation to, Joe, I like what you were saying, through possible commercialization, whether that be selling off their patent. So we partner with the U.S. Patent Office. We have 27,000 kids going through our program right now. We're in 38 states in the United States. And our numbers are down a little bit with COVID. But I also chair the National Research Group with my colleague Stephanie from MIT. That's the Lemelson's Research in Invention Ed group. So I co-chair that with, there's approximately 32 universities that are part of our consortium. So we are very interested in how you assess students on invention in non-traditional ways. So we know my program of the 27,000, we target underrepresented and marginalized groups. Our program is an in-school model, so that we are specifically embedding it into the national standards. My background, I'm a physical chemist by training, nanotechnology. I work for the government doing patents that we can't tell you about. And yeah, now after you retire from the government, you kind of go in to be a professor, work in national security. So I chose the poor route and I'm a professor.
Thank you, Leslie. You guys do so much more than I even knew you did. I think we could do a whole meeting just on the things that you are doing and working on and learn a lot from you. Thank you.
And I'm here because I just know of Julie's reputation and the email came across and I wanted to learn more. And our program, what we do is we partner with other programs so that we can have our teachers embed your program within our program. So for example, the Henry Ford, we take pieces of that. So that's kind of what I'm here to look at all the great stuff you do and figure out how we can jointly partner so we can reach more kids.
Wonderful. Thank you. Sheldon?
Okay, my name is Sheldon Apsell. I am the chairman of the board of the Academy of Applied Science, which is an organization that has been around since the 1960s. The Academy runs the Young Inventors Program in Northern New England, and we work actually very closely with the Connecticut Invention Conventions to cover all of New England. We've been doing this for 35 years at least. We not only have competitions in the schools, but we run a regional invention convention, and the winners there we send on to a national competition. Our mission there is to teach kids at a young age critical thinking. It's been our experience over these many years that you need to reach kids and get their interest when they're young, and then you need to provide continuity because by the time they get to high school, they're more interested in other things like sports and the opposite sex and a lot of other things, politics. And so our belief is we have to get to kids when they're young. So the emphasis on our program is in the elementary schools, although we do K through 12. My background, well, I've actually, my career has been as an inventor. I've been an inventor and ran a company to commercialize my inventions for about 35 years. About 7 or 8 years ago, I sold my firm. At that time, the founder of the Academy of Applied Science passed away, and I was asked if I would sort of run things for a while until they can find someone else. That while has been 7 years. And of course, this was going to be half-time, only 60 hours a week, right? Okay. My background is, well, as I said, I've been an inventor. And before that, I was involved in running spying operations against the Soviets, but we won't go into any details there. My training is in quantum physics. I have a PhD in quantum physics, which is interesting and may even someday become useful. And that's about it. And I will pass the torch to my co-conspirator, who is also on our board of directors, Jim Milliken.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Milliken. I'm vice chair of the Academy of Applied Science and have been on the board now, I guess, 15 or 20 years, actually. And Bob Rines, in fact, was a special person for the Academy, and he invited me to be part of the process. I'm actually a community leader. I don't come from perhaps some of your backgrounds, but I'm most interested in what the Academy has done for young people, and particularly the Young Inventors Program. And so I'm here today to, like Leslie, I think, to learn more about the organization and see if there is a place and a part for us to play in it. Whatever we can do to help with young people and their creative abilities, that's the bottom line. And worldwide, quite frankly, was Bob Rines' personal passion. And in our earlier career with the Academy, we in fact were doing worldwide programs. So I'm here to support Sheldon. Thank you.
Thank you.
And have we covered, did we do Joe?
We did. I think that we have caught everybody. Please,
Okay.
if we have not caught you, let us know that before we move on. So I think Jake is going to share his screen, and I think we're one slide farther in now.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. And let me explain. You have to forgive me. I'm going to put on my teacher hat for a second. But let me explain something about why you're here. You may not know why you're here, but let me explain what I think is why you're here. The world is changing. The world is changing dramatically. A few days ago, I was listening to the Financial News Network, and they had the CEO of British Airways, and they asked him, when do you think the world will return to normal? When will air travel become what it was before, you know, back in 2019? And he said 2023. Means he's writing off 21, 22, and probably half of 23. The next day I was listening, and they had the CEO of United Airlines, and he said 2024. Now, these are gentlemen whose job it is to be optimistic. They want the shareholders to be happy. I'll be honest with you, I think both those men are wrong. And the reason they're wrong is not that the COVID won't be overcome. We will overcome the virus. Eventually there'll be a vaccine. But things are not going back to what we call normal. They are not. This is a paradigm shift. The Black Plague struck Europe in the 1400s. It destroyed the feudal system. I am not saying this is equivalent to the Black Plague, but it is a shift in the world, and things will not go back to the way they were in 2018 and 2019. The world is different. And the realization of this is why we have sort of created this alliance. It's to adapt to the new world and the way things are. And what's going to happen is eventually when the virus is cured and things are supposed to go back to normal, they won't. Because people will have spent a year, 2 years, 3 years in this virus world, and we will have learned how to adapt and how to work and how to use Zoom calls. Instead of having 15 people getting together in a room, we're now going to be doing it with Zoom. And there's other technologies that are right on the horizon, and I've actually seen them. VR and AR, virtual reality, artificial reality. And the next generation is not going to think that a meeting is a bunch of people sitting in a room. It's going to be people connecting electronically. And that's one of the things that the Alliance is all about. We sat down and thought about how can we connect even though we physically can't be together. And this is one of the strong points. This is one of the things that we would like to introduce to you. I think what will happen is once the virus is cured and the airlines open back up, you will all be sitting around thinking, well, wait a minute, why should I spend an enormous amount of money on an airplane ticket or on a hotel when we can be sitting together and getting 90% of the experience for 10% of the cost? And so organizations will naturally be forming these virtual reality relationships that we have here. And that's really what we want to be talking about and showing you. So, end of lesson. Julie, at any point, interrupt me, okay?
I will, don't you worry.
Okay, so the next question came up is, what's going on with the name? And if you heard, my experience is in invention. And Sherilyn and Julie were all involved in invention. That's where I grew up for a long time, in the invention atmosphere. But I started looking at things, and we started really talking about the name. And the name is not an accident. And the first one is innovation. And so to get an experience, I looked up the definition of invention, and here it is. And it's just one line right there. That's the definition of invention. And it is to create or design something that has not existed before, to be the originator of. That's the definition of invent. And then I looked up innovation. And this is innovation, that great big paragraph. And you can do the same dictionary search yourself. It's a huge paragraph because innovation is carrying out new combinations, introduction of new goods, new methods, opening new markets, the conquest of sources of supply. Innovation is enormous. It's just not making an invention. And I'm an engineer. I love gadgets more than anyone on this Zoom, okay? But innovation is more than the invention. It's the whole process. And in fact, in the definition, innovation is related to, but not the same as invention. Innovation is more apt to involve the practical implementation of an invention, i.e. new and improved ability to make meaningful impact in a market or society. And that's really what we're talking about. Just not making something new, but now bringing it to society, changing society, having an impact. And all of that is innovation. And that's why we have the word innovation as the first word in the name of the program. Julie, you're muted.
Thanks, Jake. So just to share my thoughts a little bit more even about what the Innovation World Alliance is, it truly is, as I've written here, a coalition of organizations partnering to inspire, promote, and celebrate innovation, education locally, nationally, and globally. And while probably or likely the vast majority of Alliance members will be from US operated organization, I want us to, or I hope that we would always welcome global entities to come into the Alliance as well as mentees, as mentors, and most certainly as collaborators. And we'll talk a little bit later on one of our other slides about some recent collaboration that we have done with global partner that manifested into a really fun contest that we just finished up recently. So some of the benefits of being a member of the Innovation World Alliance is, if you haven't had a chance to look at the website yet, please do. I would consider it in its early stages still, but it's got a breakdown, kind of a hierarchy of what it's going to look like there. There's a resources option there that has many, many different categories, and Alliance members will have their organizations listed in those categories. Included in publications post, other opportunities that come our way. Students of the Alliance programs, of course, are invited to not only Alliance competitions, but to competitions of other organizations that touch the Alliance, like the InventFuture.global organization, and any type of competitions for any of the Alliance members can be offered out to the entire Alliance. Featured guests on the podcast, not just the Alliance members, but their students. We frequently, in fact, probably more fun than any other is having the student innovators on the podcast. I mean, that's really what everyone wants to hear, is how those kids are innovating, how they started innovating, and what they want to do with their future. And as always, the Innovation Alliance members are first to be invited to sign up for our Global Innovation Field Trip. As Jake says, they have first rights of refusal to be members. We have filled that program out. We'll talk a little bit more about that program in a while, but we have filled that up each of the last 3 times that we have held the event. So it's important as a member that you have first rights to be there and to talk about your organization, and to have your students come join us as well. And it's just a really, I think it's a really good international platform to share and receive product information, share yours, receive some from other people's, and really links you to new opportunities. And of course, it's going to increase your visibility, provide added value for your program, and new and ongoing opportunities to grow with us. And best of all, I think, is there's absolutely no cost to be a member of the Innovation World Alliance other than your time. Kind of to show you what's happened in the last 13 months, and that's how old Innovation World is, 13 months. We incorporated as an LLC December 1st of 2019. And so I won't sit and read to you everything that we've done every month, but we have actively incorporated new ideas, new innovations, new partners, new people to join the team, Jake and Sherilyn, and hopefully many affiliates to join this affiliate team. But we just launched the Innovation World Alliance itself in September, so just a month ago. And we're already sitting here at our first meeting. We're very excited for the involvement of people like you. When I was originally writing some of this presentation, I asked Jake and I asked Sherilyn, and I looked at my own time in the industry, and I think we added up to 85 years, just the 3 of us. So I can't imagine, as this alliance grows, the sheer volume of knowledge that comes with all of your participation. Many more than 85 years worth, I'm sure. So the point of the slide is really just to show you that we keep creating, we're going to keep innovating, and our kids are who drives us to do this. And we want you to be a part of it.
Let me add something and get back to my previous point. Every one of these activities and things that you're seeing were done via the internet. None of them were done live and in person. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because it's a new paradigm. Okay, you're not going to get 500 people together. It's just not going to happen anymore. And like I said, even once the virus is gone, there's still going to be the cost aspect of moving all those bodies around. And so this morning I was part of a program, and it was taking place at the Hangzhou Low Carbon Museum in Hangzhou, China. And there were some Chinese students there, but there were also students from half a dozen other countries participating in real time, not a recording. The students were actually talking and interacting with each other and with the adults and with the judges. And it's this kind of technology that we have been using. And every time we have done it, we've gotten better and better. So last May, we ran the first Global Innovation Field Trip. And it was a bit of a chaotic mess. It was incredibly exciting. And we had 120 different presenters over a 24-hour period. People from all over the world were involved, 16 different countries. It was great. We did it again in July. We got 20% better. We did it again in October. We got another 20% better. We're asymptotically approaching perfection. But the point is, we're up to what are we up to now? 23 countries, Julie? Is that what that is?
23 participating countries.
I mean, and it's just growing and growing and growing and growing. And we are learning how to do this. So in one sense, Julie says, oh, we started in September. Yeah, we started in September, but we've got 13 months worth of experience. We know what we're doing. We know what doesn't work. We know how to make things better. So that's what I did this morning. And now tomorrow morning, I'm going to be participating in another program that Pratek is running in India. And once again, it's live. It's not a recording. I'm going to be able to talk to his students, and other judges from other countries are going to be talking. It's a real live interactive situation. I'm sorry, I just get so excited about this. In the 1850s, Charles Babbage and Linda Lovelace invented the computer. The only problem was they didn't have the technology to make it work, so it never worked, okay? In 1918, there was a worldwide pandemic, and the people just sat around and died because there was nothing they could do. We are so lucky we've got this virus now, but we also have the technology to enable us to move forward, and that's what we are doing in the Innovation World Alliance. We are using this problem as a rationale to make things better. We are changing direction. One more thing, I'm sorry. There's a wonderful quote from Henry Ford, and he said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said, we want faster horses. And what he had done was change the direction, and that's what we are doing. I'm sorry.
You should never be sorry, because something you said the other day that I think encapsulates just what we're trying to do is a lot of people in the world today are saying, what are we going to do? And what Jake mentioned yesterday when we were visiting about today's meeting was, we're doing it already. So we welcome you to come join what we're already doing. We've worked out bugs and we're already there. We're doing it. Lead with us.
I would just like to go back to something Jake said a minute ago. It was not a mess in May. The only people that knew it was a mess was me and Jake and the other two co-hosts. To the rest of the world, it looked very well put together. Our Zoom skills have far improved since then, as well as our YouTube skills.
And the organization, that's really we understand now how to schedule people. I'm sorry, there's a lot of details. We have a whole processing sheet of how do you go about doing this.
So basically we were used to very large in-person events. I know, what did they do in Connecticut? 1,200, 2,400?
Yes,
I can't remember.
1,200 kids.
1,200 kids in an event. The larger events that I managed would be the ones at the Henry Ford. And so there was about 500, up to 500 kids, and probably 3 times that many if you count their families. And it really is a shift to go online. You have new issues and new problems and new challenges, but not insurmountable at all. And I just don't think there's a lot lost in that, not necessarily standing there if you're doing it right. And I think that over the course of the months, we are learning to do it right. And it's great. It's wonderful. Just to talk a little bit more about the competencies, I mentioned earlier the number of years that Cheryl and Jake and I have had in, and if I added all of your years into this as well, it would be a really big number that probably would make us very depressed altogether. However, I mean, just listening to you guys, there's so many things on this list missing. I mean, yes, we have years in youth innovation. Almost every one of us is a successful entrepreneur, if not all of us. Youth program architects, even Jill, out in what you're doing as a teacher. I mean, you're creating a whole program out there. I mean, you're definitely a youth program architect. I think every one of us is. Experienced mentors as well as mentees, let me add, always learning something new, if not from the presenters, but from the kids at the Global Innovation Field Trip. Creative collaborators, you have to be if you're sitting here today. You're absolutely a creative collaborator. And building relationships is the way we're going to continue moving forward. Things can't stay the same as they were. They have to keep moving forward. And you do that through relationships with other people and other ideas. And as part of the Alliance, you're definitely expanding your network quite a bit, all the way over to South Africa, being part of this Alliance. So, my question to you all is, what role will you play? What role do you want to play in the Alliance? And then just to give you an idea of what the Alliance has meant to us so far, this is not even a complete diagram, but it has as many of the logos as I can fit on here. The larger logo image really is the individuals who are either part of the Global Innovation Field Trip now, that invest time in that every single quarter when we put it on, or they're members of inventfuture.global, which Innovation World is also a member of. And it's all of these relationships together that have been bringing, that have really brought us together. And it's just, it's so hard to articulate this, Jake. I'm sorry, you're much better at this than I. It's incredible what can be accomplished if you work together. And every one of these organizations are organizations that we're working with on some level or another, and will continue to do so. And as we continue to welcome more organizations in, as well as your organization as part of it. The center of this diagram really talks to the three organizations, Innovation World, the Global Innovation Field Trip, which is a program of Innovation World, and then inventfuture.global. And some of the things that those three programs offer today. So for the Global Innovation Field Trip, there are panels that will present in the future, or panels that will be part of the Global Innovation Field Trip. And maybe I need to step back, and for those of you who weren't part of it, tell you exactly what the Global Innovation Field Trip is. Have we talked about that at all, Jake? I don't think so. Okay, so the Global Innovation Field Trip is something that we developed starting last March, I think was the first time we had a discussion about it. And as we saw schools closing everywhere, and we saw programs with student innovators who no longer had a place to show their students off, or to celebrate their students, or to even some of those folks didn't have a way or a place to compete anymore. We wanted to create a program that celebrated those students across the whole world. And so if they couldn't compete, they could still come on, they could share their innovation. They can share it with, back then I think we had 15 countries participating in the Global Innovation Field Trip that first time around. And it's a 24-hour event. As Jake mentioned earlier, I think there was like 120 presenters the first time out, 81 presentations from those 15 different countries. And so that Global Innovation Field Trip, which we thought was a one-time event to kind of satisfy the need to celebrate these kids, sold out basically. Well, we didn't charge for it, but booked out completely. And so we decided, oh, we're gonna have to do another one in July. July came and went, and it was so popular that we decided it was going to be a quarterly thing after that. So that's one of the programs of Innovation World. It's a global innovation field trip, and part of that is teen and educator panels during the 24-hour period. We do now have a co-host challenge that is connected to that. So students across the world can submit a little short snippet video of themselves interviewing somebody, and some of those, usually anywhere from 2 to 3 kids, are selected for each one of the Global Innovation Field Trip or gift programs to help us host the program. They spend about an hour interviewing guests, just like we would. And then we have, most recently, I talked earlier about collaborating with international folks. A gentleman named Sebastian Conrad from Consequential Robotics in the UK reached out through another one of the organizations we collaborate with, which is Discover STEM Education, and said, hey, we have this little companion robot named Myro, and we want to get it out in front of kids and help kids learn to code with Myro. Is there any way we can do this? And she brought it to our gift program and said, hey, can we do a competition? Can we offer that one student win this Myro? So we set up a competition, and in about 2 weeks time, I think it was, and launched it, and it ran from September 1st to September 30th. And kids around the world, I think we might have had 8 or 9 countries that had kids.
It was something like 67 students from 9 different countries, registered for this contest. And the robot itself is over $3,000. And the kids got, and by the way, you could do all the programming online. It was incredible. And then one student, she actually won an actual robot. I
think it was a 10-year-old, right?
Yeah, I think she's 11. But it's just an incredible experience, and that's essentially what's been happening. Julie talked about the things that are going on. We've got things planned already. We ran a wonderful program this summer. We called it the Summer Challenge, and then we realized that was a problem for Australia and Chile, so we're now not calling it by the time of the year, but we're having a water challenge, and that's going to be January, February, and March. And you're going to be getting literature about that real shortly. And it's students from around the world working together in teams to come up with a solution to a common world problem. And we're using the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals as our focus, and we're picking drinking water. So we're going to have students around the world working in small teams to collaborate together to come up with a solution. And then when this is done, it's going to be presented to the United Nations. We're sending it to them. Okay, that's coming up. We're going to be doing more of these. We have gift programs scheduled now for January, for April, for July, for August. More gift programs are scheduled. And we also have a worldwide innovation challenge. And that's going to be essentially an invention convention. It's going to be all done through the internet. And that's going to be September 25th, and October 2nd will be the award ceremony. We've already got this on the schedule. We've got people in committees around the world meeting to discuss these things and to plan it. So I'm sorry, Julie,
No, that's okay. And I think that, so some of the things that Jake was just talking about are actually happening through the inventfuture.global program, but we also sit on that program as well. And in fact, Jake's the director of that. In order for kids to participate in that global competition, those will be students, at least in the US, that come out of the National Inventor Challenge, which is the national program that will be put on by Innovation World. The really cool thing about that, the National Innovator Challenge and the Invent Future Global World Challenge is it's not just an invention competition. Both of those are going to be idea and invention competitions. And one of the things that I realized from my past work on a national level is not all programs out there go as far as making a prototype. Some go to that invention level, or the idea level, excuse me, and not necessarily go quite as far. And we think that's really important because those folks are all being missed in the invention competitions because they're stopping at idea, and we don't think we should necessarily not allow them into a competition. So the competition will be a two-part competition for both of those. Students will decide that I am entering the idea competition or I am entering the invention competition. So hopefully that will draw more children to the program as well.
One of the things that I really enjoy about this group, and you may get a little confused by seeing all these names and you go, well, what's the organization? What's the structure of the organization? The truth is there's very little structure. There's very little structure. Mark Twain once said, it's amazing what can be accomplished if you don't care who gets the credit. And what we have is a group of people who are interested in the accomplishment and not very interested in the credit. And so we're all working together, and it's just wonderful because it's people focusing on the goal and not on the whatever the right word is, the credit. I'm sorry. Should I go on, Julie, or just
Yes.
keep going?
So one of the things that we think is most important about the Alliance is that the members are guiding the direction and the narrative as the program evolves. You know, we don't want to get together and maybe meet on a monthly or quarterly basis and tell people what's going to happen and tell people what their roles are going to be in it. We want those things for you to discover and you to be a part of and you to actually drive. Part of that would be defining future events. You know, we know what we've established some initial events, or we're familiar with some from other organizations, but everything is possible, anything is possible. And so whatever this Alliance decides together to do, that's what we want to do. It doesn't belong to us. The Alliance belongs to the members of the Alliance. And to that end, it should support and enhance your programs. Everything that we do should be guided by, is this going to support and enhance your programs? Because if it's not, what's the point? What's the point in you being here? And what's the point of us doing this? And then, of course, as always, we'll showcase your innovators along with everyone else's innovators. That's what it's all about. And of course, collaborating, growing, and having fun together doesn't help either. It doesn't hurt either. I am just all full of my words today, aren't I? All over them. So I think, Sherilyn, you were going to jump in here?
So that's a perfect way to kind of wrap up exactly what the Alliance is, because I think sometimes the newest one to the group, which is me, probably has the best perspective because I've only, you know, just been coming out of caregiving my parents for 10 years. So this is new and I have fresh eyes, and I didn't start Jake's and I didn't start Innovation World. But what is consistent in not just Jake's initiative and Julie's and everyone that I've heard on the call today, the consistent thing is you are all jazzed about kids and you are all terribly committed to doing something that will impact long-term. There's education, sure, there's robotics, there's all the things, but I heard an awful lot of joy in kids are cool and let's support them and let's work with good people and do good work. And one of the things I think that you will find in this group, besides my dog barking, Jagger, is all of these things that have been accomplished in the last 13 months that Julie laid out started with a phone call or a Zoom that started with, wouldn't it be cool if? And the thing that I like about this group, me personally, I'm educated in education, sure, I've done invention, I've done programs, but I like to invent programs. I like to listen to someone say, gee, I wish I could do blank. And I like to say, let's go. And they usually look confused and I go, well, let's go. Let's figure it out. Let's build. And in my particular tenure, it could be an Olympic torch run, it could be an international floral exposition, it could be an Olympics. I've done all those kind of things because I don't like to be bored. I like to invent stuff and evolve as well. And it is a big deal because on the earth, we have a limited amount of time, both to impact the world, but also our own lives. And it's better when you're working with people who are aligned in the same way, which align for kids. And, you know, kids are important in children. That's a resounding theme of everyone on this call, this Zoom. And also just let's do something now. And all of those things that Julie just listed in those 13 months, the Gift Miro Robot Challenge, that was from idea to close 60 days. And it started with, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? And it got done and it was amazing. And the young lady was 10 or 11 and it was just ridiculous. And the gift, 24 hours, that means every 15 minutes for 24 hours, there is a young innovator or an adult innovator talking about either their invention, their innovation, their program, their dreams. 24 hours is a lot of innovation. And it's also important to even just put out to the world that, hey, there's still really cool adults and young people out there doing great things. This is good news that never gets told as much as the bad news. So to me, if you want to be, one of the phrases that I've used most of my life is I've been called a verb, and that's true. I like to do stuff. When someone says, why can't we? I say, why not? Let's go. And if you want to be involved in not just creating the vision of a group, like Julie said, not just invited to hear what's going on, but to actually say, why not? Why can't we? Wouldn't it be cool if? Then the Alliance strives to be a resource, but also a sounding board, a launch pad. And it doesn't mean everybody has to be involved in everything. You get to pick and choose. It's like the 64 color box. Not everybody likes puce. I do because it's a cool color. But if you don't want to be involved in gift, no problem. If this is what your organization needs, then that's where you need to be. Because not to be trite, but being happy is not an insignificant thing, and it translates. And I'm guessing that every one of you on this Zoom has children who are now young adults who have reached back to them over the last 10, 20, 30 years and said, hey, I remember when you told me this when I was 9. And you probably get letters like that every so often, or a phone call, or maybe even just see their name in a newspaper. But they remember you because you were joyful, because you were filled with doing what you wanted to do. You were having fun, and it translated. So I think everyone has something to give. I was incredibly humbled by everybody's resume on this Zoom. My strength is listening to someone say, wouldn't it be cool if, and then going, okay. And then, you know, the world is littered with things I've built. That's what I strive to bring to Julie and Jake and programs moving forward, both because it's important, it's impactful, the world is different. So let's be different first and get out there first, and then bring people along. Because what I believe, at least in my lifetime, is you can win a race, but you really won the race if you come back around to the back and help the slower person get to the finish line. And I think that's, in a way, what the Alliance strives to do. Everyone bring their own strengths, join together, tell us what you think is missing or always wanted to do, like wouldn't it be cool if, and then offer to each other your resources. Like Jazz, I met on the gift, and there were several toy people. So that connection's already been made through the gift, and Joe. But basically, if you want to keep doing what you're doing and give something of your knowledge and wisdom to the other amazing people on this group, support young people, and lead, and have fun with some good people who you can laugh with and learn with and trust. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing? I've only been involved back in this group for maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and it's made my life better already. So we welcome you. We need to know that you'd like to be part of it. Just say, send Julie a note, or just say, hey, I'm in. Or you can send me a note and say, yeah, that sounds cool. Wouldn't it be cool if? And then we can figure out the details, you know, your logos, your websites, all that kind of things. But I would ask you to do one thing. Think a minute, and if you already know, if it's on the tip of your tongue, just put it in the chat or let Julie know, but think about it for a minute. Wouldn't it be cool if, answer that question as it relates to supporting young people with a bunch of really less young people, and join us. Let us know, join the Alliance. And no Star Trek or Star Wars jokes right now. You know, we batted that around the Alliance, but yeah, join us. It's important work, and the work you've already done is important, and let us help you put what you've done out there to inspire people around the globe.
Hi, Julie. Leslie, I was wondering, who's your funder, or how are you supporting this if it's no cost to join right now?
That's one of the reasons Julie called me. That's one of my tasks.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which is now yours.
No, that's a very good. Let me explain. That's a very good question, and the answer is we don't have any funders. Okay, none of us are being paid. Okay, you are running your own organization, and you have your own budget and doing it, whatever it is that you're doing, and you've got your own finances and your own financial problems. The nice thing about doing this virtual program is it's not costing us anything. I have a Zoom account, you know what I mean? So we're just using Zoom accounts that people have. Yes, there is some expense. We do have a website, but we're talking about hundreds of dollars. We're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars. I think eventually our plan is, once we become even bigger and more robust due to all of you, that we will go after some sponsors. And we have been talking to companies already. We've already had companies donate equipment to us. We've already talked about the robot contest. That cost that company a few $1,000s, more than that, tens of thousands of dollars to do that. That's great. And that's the kind of relationship that we're doing. Good question though. So right now,
it doesn't cost us anything to collaborate, and we're good collaborators. And, you know, and we'll become better collaborators as we bring more people into the fold as well. But even if, let's say, funding at some point will pay for the cost of doing business for us, we don't see, any of the three of us don't see this as something that, you know, we're going to have big salaries from at some point. We don't see this as something that we're holding off or holding out to charge folks for either. It's not going to happen. That's not why we're here. We're here to be collaborators.
Perhaps a better answer that I should have not been flipped was, sponsorship to me has never meant dollars per se. What does happen is, if you are able to have a need such as Zoom, such as most educators and most organizations could use some help with technology, could use some help with design, could use some help with videography. And much of my history in different programs that I've run haven't necessarily come with a check per se. Sometimes they have, but sometimes as a group, you can approach someone who is something you could never afford on your own. They will be, you know, they might be able to give a better cost or a better, you know, rate or something like that when they're perhaps exposed to the group. You know, if they want to be, if they may not be able to provide, you know, a computer or a camera or something like that to someone one by one. Sometimes when you're able to approach folks as a group, can you help, you know, provide this? It's not always dollars. It's like I said, it's the robot. It's things like that. It's things that inspire.
Can I just share something? I just got an enormous payment, and I just want to share it with you. This just came in a few minutes ago, literally. Do you see the email? This is from one of Pratik's students, right, Pratik?
Yeah, right.
Yes. And
She's a 9-year-old.
9-year-old, and it's a young girl. Is it a young girl?
Pretty young girl.
A good young girl. Okay. I want to use the right pronoun. Anyway, she was in GIFT just a week ago, and she said it was a wonderful experience, an opportunity for me to present in GIFT. It was a great exposure for the World Forum. I could see inventors across the world. It was a great idea to bring the upcoming talents to the World platform. I like the way the mentors encourage the inventors, and I am waiting for such a program in January 2021, the new year, to present with my new inventions. That's my payment. I just made $1 million, okay? And can you imagine how you would feel when your students write emails like that?
May I also add a point?
Yes.
Yeah, like we talked about resources, so definitely we can help each other for sharing the resources. Just for example, let's say even I also have the Zoom account, and I have the paid account since I'm using Zoom for my virtual classes. And since Indian time zone and US time zone are different, so maybe when you require Zoom, I won't need it. So I would be happy to give my Zoom account because I have done the payment for my classes, and maybe for the morning time, my Zoom account is completely unused, and you can use that time for me. So if we can try sharing our resources, we can maybe run this organization for absolutely no charge.
Actually, thank you, Pratik. That's exactly what happened. One of the things we're planning, what's that program that Claire was using? Anyway, there's a program in Chile, and they have this wonderful software package. It was fantastic. And I said, how much does it cost? And she says, well, it doesn't cost you anything. I've already paid for it. You can use it when I'm not using it. Working together, sharing resources.
Padlet.
Padlet.
Yeah.
Great program, by the way.
Yeah.
In the same way, I'll just give an example. One of the programs I built years back was a class that took elementary and middle school kids, answered the question, what's next with their invention? I called it Bridge the Gap, and we held it at Ohio State where I was. And my Rotary Club mentored the kids. It was maybe a dozen kids. And so what one of the young people got who had an invention regarding water reclamation, potable water reclamation, you wouldn't quantify it in dollars, but that child got to spend collectively about 20 to 22 hours on the phone with the vice president of new products of Dow regarding their water program. So this 7-year-old who had to actually get out of school because the time change was so great, and who had an adult with him to help the call. But Jake is exactly right. There's not a price on that. They stay in touch. He's in his 30s now, and just the mentorship of someone, a VP of product development of a major corporation, taking time, sharing time consistently, we're never going to know what impact that made on that child. You know, you're not going to have a rubric, but those kind of things, they really are. Jake said it, it's worth $1 million. And if we can actually create something that allows a child to have that experience, I don't know how you do put a price tag on it. So that's what we're trying to do.
Hi, everyone. It's been great being here. I don't know how I want to formulate my words, but you know, we as inventors, we see white space, we see blank spaces, and we want to move into that. Not only do we want to move into that, we want to tell everyone about it so that they can see it like we see it too. And I'd like to refer to what Jasmine's doing. Hey, Jasmine, good to meet you here. So Jasmine, from seeing from South Africa here through the internet, I can see that Jasmine is encouraging kids to invent, and if they do a good job, they can get licensing deals with with the biggest companies in the world. Think about that. The paradigm is that, you have to go through the schooling system, and then you have to go through the university system, and then maybe you get a good job, right? That's the paradigm. And then once you have a good job, you can earn your money. But that should change, because kids don't have to go through that whole rigmarole. It's a terrible word, rigmarole. I don't know where this word came from, but it's like this process. If you have a good idea, all it takes is the good idea, the ideation, and then the prototyping, right? Then you make a video and the big company says, yes, guess what? You can pay for dad's new car. That's for the toy industry. Why should the toy industry stop right there? So what Jasmine's doing, promoting the toy industry in the licensing game, this can take over to every industry out there, because the entrepreneurial route is like, it's very difficult. So is licensing. They both got their challenges, but if you want to become an entrepreneur, it's not a solo game. You have to build a team. It's like playing in a band. Everyone's got their service that they need to give. You're the drummer, you're the guitarist, you're the vocalist. Everyone's got their role to play. But if you're a solo inventor, if you're a solo kid, you've got a good idea. If a big company says yes, you can continue doing what comes naturally to you, which is the inventing. And I believe inventors are a different breed to entrepreneurs. And if we can promote that drive so that inventors recognize who they are, instead of breaking down their creativity and forcing them into this worker's mindset, I think we'll create the most impact. So Jasmine, can I ask you, how's that going? What you doing with the kids right there?
Joe?
Yeah, so I just came on board. Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to say, as somebody who's actually done that, you should set your sights higher than just a new car. I've gotten several airplanes from licensing deals.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So right now, I mean, I just came on as the director about 2 weeks ago. So I'm still learning the ropes and the software and figuring out how we're going to be virtual this year. Students are in the middle of registration right now, so they have to register by October 31st. So it's, you know, I came in at their busy time of year. The awards is November 21st. So like I said, busy time right now. And then my job right away in December, January is to start figuring out how we're going to grow this even bigger for next year. And one of my ideas is starting to implement maybe smaller challenges with different school programs or in schools, you know, working on curriculum to meet the standards for it to be in school. And then the national or international challenge will just be hosted in Chicago. But I don't think we just need to do the Chicago one once a year. I think we could host, you know, smaller challenges around the world, and then just the big international one is in Chicago. So to start growing that reach even bigger. But yeah, like you said, there's a ton of examples of kids that have brought these games made out of pieces of paper that they cut up, you know, at the table and then drew on with markers, and they get a licensing deal. And next thing you know, it's like sold in Target or sold internationally in stores. And I mean, you just changed a kid's life. And I think at the age of 10, they don't even realize how big of an accomplishment that is. But that's huge. And yeah, you don't have to wait till college or after college, or I don't know, even for myself, that's something I'm starting to figure out now, is like, I've always been so education focused, and I'm like, but I have all these great ideas. Why not do it now? Like, what am I waiting for? I need to start now. So when you implement a challenge, it encourages kids to pull out those ideas now. Otherwise, you'll end up with this book of ideas, like some of us probably have, that's been sitting there for years and years and years and years and years. But now that there's a challenge involved with the deadline, you know, it's, like I said, encouraging those kids to bring out those ideas now. It's never too early. Like, yeah, I love it. So I'm excited to see where it grows in the next few years. I'm new. I'm excited to meet all you guys again, but I'm getting a lot of ideas just even being in this meeting today.
Thank you.
So thanks,
what
Joe.
What a perfect segue.
Yeah.
So, and to respect everyone's time, I know we went a bit over what I thought we were going to do, but obviously we have a lot to talk about. And I would like each of you, when you hang up the phone, to please send an email directly to me. Tell me that you're interested in continuing on as part of the Alliance, and I will include you in our going forward emails. I think what we need to do is we'll establish, and I guess I'll take a poll to establish how we want to meet, whether we want it to be something on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, or what feels right to you. If you can't meet every time, that's fine as well. And then maybe decide on some formats for upcoming meetings where I think we all have a lot to share. Maybe each meeting will have one person share a little bit more depth about what they're doing, so we can all learn from that, and or however it is we decide we want to do it. But I don't want to keep everybody much longer. I appreciate all of your time. Please shoot me a message when you're done on this call. I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you and maybe even more folks at the next meeting of the Innovation World Alliance.